class. My name is Melissa Simpson. Nice to meet you all. In the case of Jackie Jacobs versus St. Ashford Hospital on behalf of Beverly, I understand where Beverly may have thought she was protecting the patient by not leaving a message on her office phone, but according to HIPAA, a patient is allowed to request information to be disclosed in a certain way or to a certain extent. She left a message on her home phone which violated not only the patient's instructions, but her legal HIPAA right. It was documented specifically in her record to leave the message at her office. If Beverly was to simply follow the patient's instructions, she would have had done nothing wrong. She could have even left a short message for the patient to return her call, but instead she left a detailed message on a different communication method than the patient requested. She assumed that it was not a good way to communicate due to the chance that anyone in the office can access her medical information. But that may not have been the case at all. She may have a personal voicemail at that number that is considered safer for her than to receive information about her medical care at home. Beverly thought that since Jackie's daughter is on the list to disclose information, it would be okay to leave a message at home where either Jackie or her daughter would be able to hear it. The disclosure form to disclose information to other individuals stands when the patient has given the go-ahead to do so, or if the patient cannot be reached. As stated by Jackie, the nurse should have obtained her permission to disclose information to her daughter so that she could tell her how much of her information she allowed her to give. Beverly states that she is well versed on the HIPAA laws and regulations because of her current and ongoing HIPAA training. But she apparently missed a vital part of that rule when she chose to ignore the patient's wish to leave a message at her office. In any event, she divulged all her medical information to anyone that may live with her, although she thought only her daughter lived with her. According to the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, the HIPAA privacy rule at 45 CFR 164.510B specifically permits covered entities to share information that is directly relevant to the involvement of a spouse, family members, friends, or other persons identified by a patient in the patient's care or payment for health care. If the patient is present or is otherwise available prior to the disclosure and has the capacity to make healthcare decisions, the covered entity may discuss this information with the family and these other persons if the patient agrees or when the opportunity does not object. The covered entity may also share relevant information with the family and these other persons if it can reasonably infer based on professional judgment that the patient does not object. Even when the patient is not present or it is impractical because of emergency circumstances or the patient's incapacity for the covered entity to ask the patient about discussing her care or payment with a family member or other person, a covered entity may share this information with the person when, in exercising professional judgment, it determines that doing so would be in the best interest of the patient. As quoted from the U.S. Privacy Rule. In conclusion, I must find Beverly guilty as charged for violating HIPAA laws in disclosing Jackie's personal information. She did not advise her ahead of time that she was going to discuss her medical information with her daughter. Also, if Jackie had not specifically requested that her information be disclosed by phone to her office, then that would leave Beverly the only choice but to call the home number. Obviously, the requested form of communication by the patient is what she felt was safer for her medical disclosure of information. It is not safe to assume or go against a patient's rights. Understandably, Beverly mistook the law when it came to disclosing the patient's information. Therefore, I have to rule in favor of Jackie Jacobs. Beverly is guilty of violating her patient's rights and the HIPAA law.